Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with Simon. It's a cold, wet autumn day and I'm sat here in my roll top cardigan, the one that's meant to make you look like Jason Statham in Expendables 3. Yeah, not really. Just to keep warm. So, yeah, I'm in the office today, aka the living room. But we could pretend, couldn't we? How's about this? Yes, that's better. So today I thought we'd have a chat. A bit of a health update, really. So for those of you who are, if you're new, you might be going, what's going on? Where's the running content? And plus if you only check in now and again. Those of you who follow every week, thank you. And you'll know I've been ill. And so I've been having to do talking videos and interviews. And I've been doing leisure drives, lay-by hopping. There's a lot more of those to come, of course, because, I film way in advance. So you've got a couple of months worth of those to come. Which isn't what I set up the channel to do. I love getting out early in the morning, in particular, and the whole world is just for you. Out into the beautiful countryside, trail running. And I wanted to share that experience with you, where I go, different places I've been to run, and a little bit about those areas, but mostly just showing you the beautiful countryside and trying to express how I felt while I was running it with the music I put alongside it. And hope some people will get into trail running as a result, but you don't have to. I just hope it inspires people to get out into the countryside, really. But I've not been able to do that recently. So, let's rewind and talk about the symptoms I've had, because that will help later when we talk about what's actually wrong. Not that I've got all the answers yet, but we do have some answers. So, first symptom. So, if you recall, this year I started doing strength training. The reason being, I think if you do want to keep going running and doing, whatever your sport is in your 50s and beyond, you really need, it's not optional anymore. You have to add running drills. You have to add some form of strength training into your workouts, because as you get older, your muscles atrophy. And so running, for example, you'd be running with bad form, which will then lead you to get injured. So I added strength training, and I'd forgotten how much I loved the gym, actually. I took an approach of using a lightweight, high reps, and I absolutely loved it. However, after about 3 months, I did notice a side effect. The side effect was a lower rest heart rate. Now, my rest heart rate's always been in the 40s, high 40s perhaps, mid 40s. But with the weight training, I was getting heart alarms at night off my watch because it was saying my rest heart rate was dropping to about 35 beats a minute, which is quite low. And that could be just perfectly healthy. That could be just because I'm getting fitter. But it was there's a symptom that's something that's different. Then if we go back to April, then I got another symptom, dizziness. Do you recall that beautiful run I did out at Prestatyn? and running down to the fun ship. That was beautiful. But while I got about a mile or so into that route, and all of a sudden came over really dizzy, like I was drunk. And I kept going because of me. But there was a mile or so there where I was reeling, and I thought, I've never had anything like that before, this dizziness, almost to the point of fainting, frankly. And it wasn't just a one-off. It happened, for instance, when I was several times when I'd been out running. It happened when I filmed at Shrewsbury, for instance. The same thing. I was about three miles in, and I stopped to look at the map, and then all of a sudden, whoa! So that's symptom number 2. I did back in April also get a chest infection, which so there's a potential that could have led to being a symptom. The other, so then I had a chest infection. I came back to running. First time I went out, fine. Next time I went out, it felt like I only had half a lung. I was really breathless and I had tightness in my chest. And I had to stop after 2 miles. And so then I figured it was the chest infection. And so I rested some more. Came back to running. Same thing happened again. So I'm getting a bit worried now. And so I had another rest. And then went to the doctor. They gave me antibiotics. And I thought it was getting better at that point. My pace seemed to improve. The breathing seemed to improve. I figured, thank goodness. I've just been an idiot. And the chest infection has spread and caused problems. Right, so, but then it got worse again. So, you recall I filmed at Uckington, and I ran a route of about 5 miles, but it ended with a mile of uphill. And I did struggle. I had to do it in intervals. So I had to stop 3 or 4 times. And I was okay. But that night, I didn't feel great. Tightness in my chest. Oh, yeah, sorry, I've missed one. Yeah. Do you remember another symptom prior to that? Do you remember when I did that beautiful run down at Dovedale? Well, when I did that, I was running and I was really breathless again and struggling. But then when I went over the top, up the steep hill, then it felt like someone was stabbing me in the back. I had this pain in my back and chest. And after that, I didn't run for nearly 10 days because it persisted for days afterwards. Okay, sorry. So where were we? Yeah, the run up to hospital. Okay, so I filmed at Uckington, ran up that steep hill, and I'd arranged to run with the Jasonator the following morning. I woke up and I really I wouldn't have gone run. If I wasn't meeting someone, I definitely wouldn't have run. I'd have stayed in bed because I had some tightness in my chest. I didn't feel great. But I would never let Jason down, or I try not to. So off I went. I got into about a mile into the route and I had massive pain in both my arms, a stinging pain. But, it must be just weakness leaving my body, so I kept going. Then I got chest pain and pain radiating from my chest down my left arm, so I stopped. I had to walk home. And then I realised I was going to have to go to hospital because all the fingers on my left hand turned white. I'd lost peripheral circulation. And more worryingly, I could hardly move my left arm. And I had this massive pain down my left arm and I could hardly move it. So I had my day in hospital. And so thankfully not a heart attack, but clearly something going on. And so they then said, look, we need to refer you to the Rapid Access Chest Pain Clinic. It could be that you've got myocarditis or pericarditis, which is an infection of the heart, or the sac the heart sits in, or it could be angina. So they give you the belt and braces approach for that, the medications, and tell you to avoid raising your heart rate at all. No exercise whatsoever. So this was the end of June. So they said referral to the Rapid Access Chest Pain Clinic to see the cardiologist was likely to take 2 to 3 weeks. It actually took 10. I don't blame them. The NHS, they're doing a marvellous job. I just think they're overworked, underfunded, frankly. And of course, COVID has put a massive strain on them. But after I came out of hospital, I got worse and worse and worse. I had constant chest pain in my chest, pain in my back. It felt like someone had a spear and had rammed it through my back, below my shoulder blade, and out of my chest at the front. And I could barely stand up. So if I stood up, I was in pain. A lot of pain. And even when I was laid down, I was in pain. So after about a week, I ended up in bed, and I was there for over a week. And then after that, taking it very, very gently, moving as little as possible. I finally did see the cardiologist, who said, yeah, it sounds like it could be pericarditis, but we need to rule out the angina. So we're going to send you off for a CT scan where they inject contrast dye into the heart and then look at the flow of blood. And also an echo where they use an ultrasound on your heart to actually look at the structure of the heart. So I had those, and then we waited some more. So we are now 4 months in. 4 months of not being able to walk, not being able to run, not being able to weight train, driving me insane, frankly, as someone who likes to be fit and active. Very hard. And also making it very difficult to create content, actually, for you guys, because I can hardly move without ending up in pain. So, results come back, and I speak to the cardiologist. So, the tests showed 2 things. The first being a reduced flow in just one of my arteries. The other 3 are absolutely fine, clean as a whistle, but there's one with reduced flow. So basically the next step is the full invasive angiogram, where they run a catheter. I'm not sure exactly how they do it, don't ask me, not an expert, but they run a catheter up, probably through your groin, I don't know, into the artery and up with a camera up into your heart so they can look and see what's going on. So yeah, perhaps it's Swiss cheese in there. And and then they'd stent it and I'd feel a lot better. And honestly, that is the best possible outcome, And but I have my doubts. It's a bit odd that it's only one artery that's affected and all the others are clean as a whistle. And they found something else on the other scan. And they've discovered I have a congenital heart defect. It tends to run in families. So if you are related to me, you should be going to your doctor to have an ultrasound of your heart, just to make sure, because it's a killer, a silent killer actually. So what's going on? What I have is a bicuspid aortic valve. So you've got valves on your heart, and there's one of the valves is supposed to be a tricuspid valve. It's got 3 flaps. It opens and closes, and that's the way it should be. But I don't have 3 flaps. I've got 2 flaps. Now, in some people, all of this I'm going to talk about now is stuff that I've looked up on Google. That worse, if you're smart enough to be able to actually read medical stuff, it's quite dangerous, isn't it? Because I'm not a doctor. And so please take the position that everything I'm about to tell you is wrong. Okay? And if any of this relates to you, ignore it and go and see your GP. Definitely go and see your GP if any of this is ringing any alarm bells for you. Okay? Okay, but I probably got it all wrong. So, okay, bicuspid valve. So in some people, it manifests in childhood. So you've got this, if you've not got the 3 flaps, you can have problems with it opening and closing properly, which causes shortness of breath and inability to exercise. And so in some children, they have to operate on them to deal with it, I believe. However, if for some people, it can be silent for most of their life, manifesting when they're in their 40s or 50s, and sometimes not bothering them until they're, old. Okay, it depends how well the valve's working, I guess. So, what goes wrong? Okay, so what happens is, over time, you've got the valve thickens, clogs, and then doesn't open and close properly. Okay, so maybe that's why that artery is clogged. Perhaps it's the one connected to the dodgy valve. Maybe, I don't know, just whatever. Or maybe the low flow is just because of the valve is not open. I don't know. Not a doctor. The doctors will tell me in the end, I'm sure. Okay. And when they tell me, I'll tell you. So, the valve clogs, can't open and close properly. And at that point then, the presentation is breathlessness. Remember me saying I started with, felt like I was breathless and felt like I only had half a lung. That's one presentation. The other presentation is angina pain, which is what I've got. Pain in the chest. There is another one, which I've forgotten. But anyway, my symptoms fit that, okay? So, why is it a problem? If the valve isn't opening and closing properly, then as well as me being breathless and unable to move around properly, then there is a real danger of the aorta expanding because you've got backflow of blood and the heart's having to work harder. And so what can happen is that aorta can swell, I believe, so not a doctor, and that you can then you can just pop. You can have an aortic aneurysm and just drop like a sack of spuds. So it's really quite important at this point for me to have my blood pressure really closely monitored and controlled, and to avoid anything that pushes my blood pressure up, at least until they've examined it and seen what the state of play is. And I've got to be honest, I think I'm going to ask Santa for a continuous blood pressure monitor because, it's a congenital heart defect. It's not going away. Just so I can make sure that I don't do anything inadvertently that pushes my blood pressure too high, because it could kill me. Right, so they're going to go in and have a look at. They're going to look at this dodgy artery. They're going to look at that valve and see what's going on. And really going forward, for me, it depends what they find. Okay, so it may be that it's just that they'll just stent the artery, that it is blocked. They'll stent it, but they'll look at the valve and go, yeah, it's opening and closing fine. We just need to keep a tight control on your blood pressure, and just don't do anything that's going to push your blood pressure really high. Just be sensible, okay? And they'll just keep monitoring it. Or they may go in and find out that this valve is not working properly, which is, what do they call it? Aortic stenosis. I think that's what it said. And, if I've got aortic stenosis, it depends how advanced it is. So they may just monitor it and tell me, only walking for you, mate. No weight training, no running. Don't you dare, you'll die. And until you get to the point where they go, okay, you are going to die, so we're going to do something about it. Or it may be advanced, in which case they would look to replace that dodgy heart valve with a proper one, with 3 flaps, probably from a pig. Sorry, piggy. So it depends what they find, okay? And the reason I'm telling you all this is because it has an impact on the type of content I'm going to be able to make for you. So I've been really hoping that this was going to be sorted, and by Christmas I will be able to start running again, and we're going to have the road to recovery as I rebuild my running fitness. But it may be, if that valve is bad, that they tell me I'm not allowed to run, either because it's not bad enough to operate on, but it's bad enough that the running could, push my blood pressure up too high. Or it may be that I'm stuck, again, waiting on the NHS to give me an operation to replace that valve. And then obviously I'm not immediately going to have a valve stitched in and go off and go, pain, it's just weakness leaving the body, and run up a mountain, because if I do, I would die. So I don't know. I'm hoping that the medication, so now the medication, they give you the GTN spray, they up my dose of the nitrate, the long time release nitrate tablets to relieve the pain, monitor my blood pressure, keep that really low. And so that at that point then, gentle walking. I won't be walking up any mountains, I'm afraid, to start with, but I might be able to do walking content for you. Maybe they'll stent it, maybe they'll stent it and they say it's just a stent, and the arteries, the valve's okay, and then I'll be able to I'll be out running again. We'll see. Or you say I may need this operation, in which case, I don't know, I'm going to have to wait for it. So I've had 4 months of being completely incapacitated, sat in a chair, unable to do anything much, and the only content I've been able to create for you has been driving around in the car and taking 20 steps from it, because that's all I could do. So I don't know, but I'll I'll update you when I know more. So, yeah, anyway, in the meantime, it's leisure drives. That's the content you've got coming up. And for me now, personally, moving forward, certainly it'll just be leisure drives until I've had that scan and I know what's going on. Beyond that, perhaps I'll be in a position to start walking, and then we'll be able to create. I really am missing, I'm missing running in particular. I'm missing the weight training. But we'll have to wait and see. Will I be able to return to normal or not? And that's it for today. Sorry, it's a little bit of I'd like to give you happy news, but I just wanted to keep you in the loop, really. So that's it. Take care, folks. It's a driving one next week. I can't remember which one it is. No. It's a running one next week, isn't it? I think. Yeah, so if you remember back in, was it August or beginning of September? I went and saw Hayden's Mini Adventures, and he filmed a beautiful running video for us, running down to on the Flintshire coast, from the countryside down to the coast. So I hope you'll come along next week and watch that. That's more the sort of content I would really like to be making for you in the future. Right, take care. Laters.